A story about love. It all began on a quiet autumn afternoon in a small European town by the river. The leaves were falling slowly, covering the cobblestone streets in shades of gold and crimson. Emily, a young woman who had just moved to the town to begin her work as a teacher, was walking through the marketplace, holding a notebook close to her chest. She loved observing people, the way their lives intertwined like invisible threads. That was when she noticed him. Daniel was standing near a bookstall, carefully flipping through an old, leather-bound volume. His dark hair was slightly messy, and his glasses kept sliding down his nose. Something about him seemed both distant and familiar, like a character who had stepped out of one of the stories Emily loved to read. Their eyes met for the briefest second, and Emily quickly looked away. She wasn't used to catching people's gaze for too long, but Daniel smiled, a warm, open smile that made her heart beat a little faster. The first encounter. Later that week, fate played its hand again. Emily found herself at the same little cafe by the river where she often went to grade papers. To her surprise, Daniel was there too, sitting at the corner table with his book. The cafe owner seemed to know him well, greeting him as if he were a regular. Emily ordered her tea and tried to concentrate, but Daniel eventually noticed her. With a polite gesture, he asked if she would mind sharing the table. The cafe was filling up quickly. She agreed, though her voice trembled a little. Their conversation started slowly. He asked about her work. She asked about his books. Daniel was a historian, doing research on the very town Emily had just moved to. They laughed at small coincidences, like the fact that they both loved old libraries and the sound of rain on rooftops. When Emily left the cafe that evening, she felt lighter, as if something important had shifted inside her. Growing closer days turned into weeks. They began to see each other more often, sometimes by chance, sometimes because one of them hinted at meeting again. They walked along the river at sunset, shared meals at the marketplace, and sometimes just sat in silence, enjoying the company. Emily loved the way Daniel spoke about history, as if the past were alive and breathing. Daniel, in turn, admired Emily's kindness, the way she listened, and how she found beauty in the smallest things. One evening, as they watched lanterns floating on the river during a local festival, Daniel finally took her hand. It felt natural, as if their hands had always belonged together. Conflict and distance. But love stories are rarely without challenges. Daniel received an opportunity to continue his research abroad. It was a dream he had been working toward for years. Emily encouraged him, though her heart ached at the thought of losing him. They promised to write letters, to stay connected no matter the distance. At first, the letters came often, full of longing, humor, and plans for the future. But time and responsibilities created gaps. Emily felt the silence grow heavier with each passing week. She questioned whether love could survive when oceans and obligations stood in the way. One rainy evening, sitting alone by the river, Emily whispered to herself, "If he truly loves me, he will come back." Months later, when winter had begun to melt into spring, Emily walked through the town square and suddenly froze. There, under the budding trees, stood Daniel. He looked tired but radiant, as if every step of his journey had led him back to her. Without hesitation, he walked to her and held her close. "I realized something," he said softly. "All the history in the world means nothing if I cannot write the future with you." Emily's eyes filled with tears. She didn't need any grand speeches. His presence was enough. The river, the town, the streets around them seemed to sigh with relief, as if even the world had been waiting for this reunion. From that day on, Emily and Daniel built a life together. they filled their small apartment with books and laughter. They still walked by the river, but now with the certainty that no distance, no silence, no challenge could break what they had found. Their love was not just about passion or romance. It was about friendship, patience, and the quiet courage to choose each other, again and again. And sometimes when the lanterns floated on the river, Emily would look at Daniel and remember that very